This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio. Enough of the obligatory things. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be an interesting show today. Got A-Rod coming on. Start off hour number 2, the one and only Alex Rodriguez. He'll be covering the Yankees, Boston Red Sox Sunday night. He does baseball for us, does a lot of different things. Looking forward to talking to him. No, it will not be about PEDs. Damn it, he's revisited that story time and time and time again. Ain't a damn thing else he could say. He's working for the network. If you're looking for PED discussion, go somewhere else. I want to talk to A-Rod about some baseball. But before I get into that, obviously the news is that LeBron James has opted out of his contract. He's officially a free agent July 1st. He can end up staying in Cleveland. He can end up going to L.A. There's a lot of things going on with him. I'm more interested in talking about what's going on with me. Now, you might sit up there and say, what the hell is he talking about? Well, yesterday on First Take, I reported that LeBron James ended up texting Kevin Durant about possibility of coming to L.A., just inquiring, nothing more. And obviously, I've watched and I saw a bevy of shows on this network, as well as various others. And, you know, once again, somehow, some way, I became the story. I talked to you about what I've heard. I've talked to you about what I've heard said between player to player. Today, I also went on the air and talked about Kawhi Leonard. I talked about Dan Gilbert in Cleveland. Yesterday, I also talked about Sam Presti and the fact that this man is considered a elite executive, even though he had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, James Harden, Reggie Jackson, all on his roster at one time, and still no championship to show for it. And somehow, some way, for some reason, I'm the story. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to belabor this. It's just that I like doing stuff like this every now and then to remind folks that I do host a nationally syndicated radio show. That, combined with my television show, reaches in the tens of millions per week, sometimes per day. And so at any given moment, if somebody gets on my damn nerve, I can rain terror. I really can. I don't know if anybody knows this, but do you realize that I have the license to wake up every day and just say, who got on my damn nerves today? Do you know I could do that? Do you know that I'm under no obligation whatsoever, because I host a national television show and a national radio show, not to mention all the things that I do on Sports Center and beyond? Did you know that I have no obligation whatsoever to go to games? No obligation whatsoever to talk to athletes or executives or coaches. No obligation whatsoever to show my face anywhere but on my respective shows. Did you know that? But you see me, don't you? You see me traveling. You see me working extra hours. You know the number one question I get? Damn, man, when do you sleep? Because I'm everywhere. Everywhere. But somehow, some way, free agency pops up and you see teams tampering with players. Players reaching out to folks they ain't supposed to be reaching out to and trying to put a good face on everything. And plausible deniability is the phrase of the day and the week and the month. And somehow, some way, I must be making it up. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with Stephen A. about that. Did y'all know? Have y'all imagined what life would be like if I decided to call out the wrong reports that I've seen over the years? If I wanted to target people, you know what I could do? You know how many times I've seen people on the air who've never reported, by the way, never been an insider, by the way, never been a beat reporter, by the way, talking about one's credibility when they have none themselves. You see, it's stuff like that where I get pissed off. Because rather than discussing the information, I'm a subject. I'm getting tired of it. I'm really, really getting tired of it. I'll just leave it at that. Now let me get down to the nitty-gritty. LeBron James opting out of his contract with Cleveland essentially brings things down to Cleveland or L.A. or with an outside shot at Philadelphia. He could stay to Cleveland, get a few $100,000 less, sign a 1-year deal, or sign a 5-year deal for $207 million. Supermax. He could decide to go to L.A. for 4 years and $152 million. That's a $55 million drop-off from what he could get by staying in Cleveland, which, believe it or not, means close to nothing to LeBron because he's a billionaire now. Not to damn near billionaire, not to mention all the business ventures he's got going on and the endorsement deals. If there's anybody in the league that could afford to pass on $55 million, it's LeBron James. Now, according to the reports, not Stephen A., the Lakers are in discussions with the San Antonio Spurs. Why? Because they feel the need to try and get Kawhi Leonard there. Why? I don't know. One surmises it's because LeBron James is basically giving indications that he'd like to see the Lakers have something there waiting for him rather than just a young crop that they have. But here's what I did learn, and here's what I could tell you definitively. When Kawhi Leonard looked LeBron James in the face, when Kawhi Leonard looked Greg Popovich in the face and said to him, quote, I don't want to be in San Antonio any longer, LeBron knew about it that day. LeBron's camp knew about it that day. Why would that be the case? Why would they be paying attention to and following what the hell Kawhi Leonard is doing, particularly on a moment-to-moment basis? I'm just asking the question. I don't know the answer. So what did I hear about Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi Leonard wants out. Kawhi Leonard prefers to go to the Lakers, but doesn't matter so long as he ends up back in L.A. He would prefer it now as opposed to next season. He would prefer it now. The Lakers would prefer it now. Because they don't believe they can wait while simultaneously improving their chances of getting LeBron. They believe their chances improve if they get Kawhi before LeBron makes the decision. But there's another player involved, working behind the scenes, hoping against hope that something falls in line for them. And that would be the Los Angeles Clippers, because they believe next summer they'll have the money necessary to get that max player. They believe Kawhi would come and play for them, because more so than even playing for the Lakers, he just wants to be in L.A., his hometown. The preference is the Lakers, but he'd settle for the Clippers. And the Clippers need help installing or derailing Kawhi Leonard's arrival to the Lakers. But they can't do it on their own this year because they don't have the parts and the pieces, nor do they have the cap space. But if somebody was willing to do a 1-year rental, if somebody was willing to pull off something that could derail Kawhi from landing with the Lakers, it would help them. Enters Boston, as in the Celtics, as in Danny Ainge, who has all of these requisite parts: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, Al Horford, with Kawhi Leonard and Gordon Hayward coming back, who's also the place where Doc Rivers used to coach, helped deliver a championship to, and still has great relationships with that ownership and Danny Ainge. Now, the Doc Rivers and the Boston Celtics, have they been talking particularly about Kawhi? I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just telling you, there's a relationship there. And it's not an accident to me that you're hearing about Kawhi with the Lakers and the Celtics talking to the San Antonio Spurs. And then there's Philadelphia. They've got money to get a max player. They've got cornerstones of their franchise like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. They have parts that they'd be willing to give away, including Markelle Fultz, last year's number 1 overall pick, who Brian Colangelo foolishly passed over Jason Tatum for, and got played by Danny Ainge because he gave up a first-round pick in the process. But we don't know if Kawhi, a former player under assistant coach Brett Brown in San Antonio before he landed in Philadelphia, we don't know if Kawhi would consider that option. Then there's Paul George. Would he consider Philly? Or did he opt out to get a Supermax deal? Or does he want to go to L.A. like he had proclaimed over the last 2 years? Like his wife and his mama and his daddy want him to do? Or is he going to follow his own heart, his passion to play alongside and be teammates with Russell Westbrook, along with the extra 40 to 50 million in cash that OKC has to offer that nobody else has available to them? What's it going to be? All of these things are going on. Oh, did I forget to bring up DeAndre Jordan? He has to make a decision today, too, as to whether or not he's going to opt in to the $24 million he's owed for this upcoming season by the Clippers, or will he opt out to become a free agent because he's confident that he'll get a contract offer from the Dallas Mavericks? Those are his choices. We don't know what choice he's going to make. Here's what I will tell you about what the Dallas Mavericks feel about DeAndre Jordan. They consider him a legit high-level player that's worthy of pursuing. Now, are they willing to give him 24 to 25 million a year? Not that I'm told. Are they willing to go as high as 20 million a year? Not that I'm told. A matter of fact, the way that DeAndre Jordan has looked, some people don't believe he's worth more than 15 million per year. But if you're DeAndre Jordan and you're only set to make 24 million and somebody offers you a 3-year, $60 million deal, even if it's the team that you once committed to before you reneged and went back to the Clippers, the question is, what's he going to do? And what's the best option for him? DeAndre Jordan's 29 years old. He's from Houston, wanted to be in Houston, but Houston loves Clint Capella. And chances are they're going to re-up him. Nobody in the league right now considers DeAndre Jordan better than Clint Capella. Nobody I've spoken to. DeAndre Jordan is 29. DeAndre Jordan has been in the league for 10 years. DeAndre Jordan is considered to be an individual who is a skywalker, will dunk on anybody, religiously shoots above 63% from the field because most of his shots are dunks, religiously underwhelms from the free throw line, even though this year was a career year for him from the free throw line where he hit 58% of his free throws. That's an all-time best for him. He averaged 12 points, 15 rebounds. But at 7 feet, DeAndre Jordan did not even average 1 block shot per game this year. That matters to people, y'all. They're paying attention to this stuff. They believe this is a problem. And they're not sure on him. They're not sold on DeAndre Jordan. I love him, but they are not sure on him. And when you consider it from that perspective, there's some decisions that need to be made. Now, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, there's no way to go but up. You struggled this past season. You got Dennis Smith Jr. You drafted Ducic out of Europe, who's known as having a very high basketball IQ. You got to stay close to the basket because DeAndre Jordan is always a threat near the basket because of his ability to finish with dunks. You got Dirk Nowitzki, who's approaching the end. So in Dallas's mind, he might be worth it. Of course, he's not Clint Capella, who's gifted in an ideal situation in Houston, who also happens to be 5.5 years younger than DeAndre Jordan. But it remains to be seen what they will do. Chris Paul, no suspense there. He's expected to stay in Houston. Houston's expected to keep Capella. And there is what you have. Nobody's talking about the Dallas Mavericks right now, but the Dallas Mavericks for this upcoming season is committed to just $59 million. The only huge contract they have on the books is Harrison Barnes. And by the way, he has this year and a player option at $25 million next year. Wesley Matthews is in the last year of the deal, paying him $18.6 million. Your next best player is some dude named Dwight Powell making $9.6 million. You're Dallas, you got plenty of cap space. You'll probably have to overpay DeAndre Jordan. But DeAndre Jordan at this point is looking to get paid. He ain't been winning in Los Angeles. Ain't no harm in losing in Dallas. There is what you have. Did I miss anything, ladies and gentlemen? Am I making anything up? LeBron was seen jumping off rocks in Antigua, I believe. Am I making that up? Is the notion of him making a stop en route to the islands, is that beyond the pale of comprehension? Is Kevin Durant believing he should be considered the best player in the world? Questioning why somebody's calling LeBron the king. Looking at himself as a reigning two-time champion and two-time NBA Finals MVP. Am I beyond the pale in saying that? That's a fabricated story. That's fake news. Him sitting there smirking at the thought of needing to go someplace to play with LeBron as opposed to staying in his situation. Or dare I say, opting out of his contract, becoming a free agent, reneging on promising the Golden State Warriors that he'll re-sign with them and deciding himself to become a free agent in the market. Even though we all know he's publicly told Golden State, I'm going to stay on board. Is that beyond the realm of comprehension? Y'all better wake up and recognize these players communicate all the time. Rarely are they alone. Rarely are they devoid of individuals hanging around them that they share conversations with. Did you know that there have been deals that have been nixed just because an executive wouldn't say please? Did you know that once upon a time, many years ago, there was a player that got traded and got into some trouble because he got into an argument that got ugly with his significant other because he walked in on her with another player? Did you know that sometimes basketball decisions are made for things that have nothing to do with basketball? Did you know that what I just said about two players having differences with one another once upon a time, many, many years ago? A Hall of Famer had that problem with a coach for the same reason? See, we talk about trades. What's plausible and what's not. I don't have to chase stories anymore. I host my own national television and radio show. But I am the grave digger. I let others point out, let's rush to see who first gets who's going to sign where. I did that for 17 years. I'm more interested in why stuff happens. That is where my interest lies. Next time somebody wants to talk about me, remember that. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this on many occasions, and I'll say it again. Take my resume, all of it, and put it up against anybody in this business, and name the time and place, and I will show up with nothing but myself and my portfolio filled with nothing but facts. Name the time and place. Remember, hour number 2, the one and only Alex Rodriguez will be on with us. But not before I get into Jameis Winston. That'll be up next, plus your phone calls and then some. So don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Before I get to the calls, I need to, on NBA free agency, I need to transfer or to shift a little bit over to the NFL. Because for those of you who do not know, Jameis Winston is in trouble again. Jameis Winston is being suspended by the NFL for 3 games. Apparently he got into, in March of 2016, he got into a Uber, at which time he sat in the front seat of an Uber ride and grabbed a woman's crotch. The NFL investigated it. No arrests were made or anything like that, but the NFL investigated it. Upon investigation, they decided to suspend him 3 games. Jameis Winston issued a statement yesterday to the Uber driver who had accused him of grabbing her in 2016. He did not admit to having committed the alleged act, but he said that it was uncharacteristic of him and claimed that he had, quote, eliminated alcohol from his life. Quote, I know I have to hold myself to a higher standard on and off the field and that I have a responsibility to my family, community, and teammates to live above the platform with which God has blessed me, said Winston, who's 24 years of age. Although I am disappointed in the NFL's decision, I understand the NFL's process, and I embrace this as an opportunity to take advantage of the resources available to me to help me achieve the goals that I have for myself. End quote. In announcing the suspension Thursday, the NFL said that it had conducted, quote, a comprehensive investigation that included interviews with several persons, including the driver, Winston, and others with relevant information, and that it, quote, also examined an extensive amount of other evidence, including telephone records, business records, data from electronic devices, and other communications, end quote. The NFL described the Uber driver's account of the incident as consistent and credible, adding, quote, as a result, the investigation had concluded that Winston violated the personal conduct policy by touching the driver in an inappropriate and sexual manner without her consent, and that disciplinary action was necessary and appropriate. Well, here's a couple of questions. Number one, why the hell isn't Jameis Winston getting 6 games? The NFL's personal conduct policy calls for a 6-game suspension. It takes into account the evidence accumulated by the NFL, presented to Commissioner Roger Goodell, and he obviously has the power to either diminish or increase the severity of the suspension. Why, if you've concluded that there was inappropriate contact in a sexual manner that occurred without her consent, knowing that he had already been accused of a sexual assault and ultimately reached the settlement? This is before he got to the NFL, however. Why in God's name is he not being suspended for at least 6 games? Why not? That's point number one. Secondly, When are we going to veer away from constantly making excuses? I don't want to hear anything about alcohol. You've eliminated alcohol from your life. There are plenty of people who have been inebriated. They ain't doing that to women. I mean, damn. As a matter of fact, the only evidence, if you want to call it evidence, that we have of that being done is when the president of the United States, who was campaigning for the presidency at the time, got caught on tape admitting that's something he's done. That's about it. You ain't even heard of that. It's so foreign, it's so inexplicable, it's so unfathomable that even Cat Williams, noted comedian, joked about how when you saw Trump shock the world. By saying that he did that, he said even gangster dudes said, damn, where they do that at? It doesn't happen. Evidently, except with Jameis Winston. And with our president before he was the president. At some point in time, we got to take things into consideration and call it what it is. You're Jameis Winston. Ronald Darby, your former teammate at Florida State, now has been caught probably in a couple of lies trying to protect Jameis Winston. And this other dude, Banks, that he was hanging out with, the former player at Vanderbilt, Brandon Banks, who's in jail right now on a sexual assault conviction, rape. He ultimately admitted it was only Jameis Winston in the Uber car when initially the report was it was the three of them together. You Jameis Winston, what you hanging out with him for? So that's a bad judgment and what have you. You got the bad judgment. You got the act itself. You got all of this going on. And all you got is 3 games? 3 games? That's it? That's it? And I want to preface my comments by saying, if he's guilty. I wasn't there. I don't know. I'm only talking about Jameis Winston in this fashion. If he's guilty, if he is innocent, if he is being lied on, obviously I feel differently. But if he is guilty, I don't want to hear about alcohol. I don't want to hear about you being 24 years of age. It's a crime that makes you a criminal. Period. I'm speaking for all men out here who are fathers to daughters, like myself and others. I'll just put it in an inquisitive question type form. If your daughter came home and told you a man did that to her, what would you do? We all know the answer to that question. As men, we know what time it is. Time for excuses are up. Jameis Winston should be suspended a minimum of 6 games under the personal conduct policy. And the NFL should have to explain to us specifically why it wasn't 6 games, it was only 3. I could close it out with my own words. Instead, I'll give it to my man Damian Woody, who's on the 6 o'clock Sports Center, ESPN NFL analyst, 2-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots as an offensive lineman. He was on the 6 o'clock Sports Center yesterday talking about Jameis Winston's needing to be cut. Listen to this.
This is the CEO of your franchise. Supposed to be the face of your franchise.
I mean,
some hard decisions are going to have to be.
What would you do?
Personally, I would cut him. I would cut him personally. There's been too many things that's led up to this, and I don't have me personally, I have zero tolerance when it comes to this specific type of issue. I'm not relitigating what happened at Florida State, but here it is again in the National Football League. The policy is 6 games, but it's been knocked down to 3. So are you admitting guilt in this situation?
Woody also called out the NFL for their response to Jameis Winston. Listen to this.
That's like the definition of sexual assault. You're inappropriately touching someone without their consent. You change the policy to 6 games. So what bumps it from 6 to 3? To me, that's what's maddening about the league. There's no like consistency or like transparency. Why did you go from 6 to 3? When you said in your own statement that her story is credible. So for me, like NFL, somebody has some explaining to do. You wrote it in your own statement. So somebody needs to explain where you go from 6 to 3. Because that's been the chief concern that most people have had with the National Football League. Transparency and consistency. Be consistent.
He also talked about the importance of not excusing Winston's actions. Listen to this.
I don't want to hear anything about alcohol, okay? Because there's many times where I've had alcohol, but you don't see, I'm not out here groping people. So don't give me this whole alcohol thing as some excuse as to your actions. It's clearly unacceptable. You are the face of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're supposed to be their CEO. How many times do the Buccaneers have to deal with something like this? To me, it is unacceptable. I don't want to hear 24 years old. He's young. There's a lot of young men in the National Football League who are doing great things, who are not doing these type of things, who don't have this pattern of behavior in the National Football League. So why should we give him a pass? We need to start holding people accountable.
Amen. Amen. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls and more in a minute before Alex Rodriguez comes on the show. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
To the phones we go. Let's go to James in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, James.
Hello, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to ask your take on a trade for the Lakers that's similar to the Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love trade, and that's Brandon Ingram and Luol Deng's contract to the New Orleans Pelicans for DeMarcus Cousins. LeBron James will have a veteran big that he can depend on.
Stop right there. Stop. Here's your problem. I understand that because you get rid of the $36.1 million they still owe Luol Deng over the next 2 years. And you're offering the young services of a guy like Brandon Ingram. I get that. Here's the problem. If I'm the Lakers, I don't want to do that. You know why I don't want to do that?
Why?
Because DeMarcus Cousins suffered an Achilles injury, and it's a huge question mark as to whether he's going to even be available to play next year. He's an unrestricted free agent who may not even be able to play. You understand? And who's also looking for max dollars and damn sure ain't going to get it. So what do you do?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, man.
Got to run. Appreciate the call. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey,
Mike,
Stephen A. I just had
Go ahead, man.
I wanted to hear your opinion on a possible trade scenario for the Lakers.
Go ahead.
Obviously, the Spurs are going to hold the Lakers for a king's ransom to get Kawhi. So I'm wondering if it would make more sense financially for the Lakers, and even if this player would fit better with LeBron, and that would be to go after C.J. McCollum over in Portland.
Well, listen, here's the thing, and it's interesting that you bring that up because I'm a guy who believes that the Portland Trailblazers are never going to get better unless they move either Damian Lillard or CJ. Because those two, CJ's guaranteed the next 3 years at 25, 27, and 29 million a year. Okay? And I like CJ a lot. I don't know if he's the guy to get you over the hump though, but I like him. CJ McCollum ain't too far off from Paul George, at least as an offensive player. I like CJ, and you know how I feel about Damian Lillard. I think Portland needs to make a move. I really, really do. I just don't know if that'll be enough. and I don't know if that'll work. I appreciate the call, though. Thank you so much. By the way, Paul is not interested in trading either Damian or CJ, but Damian might be on the verge of trying to make them change their mind. Anyway, when was the last time you were at a game or concert? Go to vividseats.com/ESPN today for your exclusive discount offer. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show up next. We'll talk NFL. We'll talk NBA free agency. We'll continue with that. Plus, Alex Rodriguez. He'll be in the house. Stay tuned. Until then.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.